It all started with a Facebook post. "That woman is dead." At first, people thought the account had been hacked. When police arrived at the house, they found a body in the bedroom and an empty wheelchair by the door. Gypsy Rose Blanchard, the girl everyone believed was terminally ill, had vanished. When they finally found her, alive, walking and perfectly healthy, the story that unfolded was stranger than anyone could have ever imagined. To understand how we got here, we need to go back, because this wasn't just a murder case. It was a story built on deception, control, and a young woman desperate to escape a life that had never truly been hers. Gypsy Rose was born in 1991, and from a very early age, her mother, Claudine Dee Dee Blanchard, insisted that her daughter was sick. She told doctors that Gypsy had leukemia, muscular dystrophy, epilepsy, and a host of other conditions. Over time, the list grew. She claimed Gypsy had the mental capacity of a child and required constant care. Charities stepped in. They were given a house built by Habitat for Humanity. They received free trips, backstage passes to concerts, and national attention. Dee Dee was praised as a devoted single mother, and Gypsy, always smiling from her wheelchair, became a symbol of hope. But the truth was far more disturbing. Most of those diagnoses were fabricated. Gypsy could walk, she wasn't mentally challenged, and many of the treatments and medications she received were not only unnecessary, they were harmful. Behind closed doors, Dee Dee controlled every part of Gypsy's life. She kept her isolated, homeschooled, and constantly under supervision. Even her age was manipulated. Documents were altered to make her seem younger than she was. As Gypsy got older, the illusion became harder to maintain. She began sneaking online late at night, looking for some kind of connection to the outside world. That's when she met Nicholas Godejohn, a young man from Wisconsin. What started as a secret relationship quickly became something more serious. For the first time, Gypsy confided in someone. She told him the truth, that she wasn't sick, that she could walk, and that her mother had been forcing her to pretend. Together, they began discussing ways to escape. Eventually, their plan turned into something much darker. In June of 2015, Nicholas traveled to Missouri. Gypsy let him into the house at night, while Dee Dee was asleep. She handed him a knife, then hid in the bathroom as he entered her mother's room. Moments later, Dee Dee was dead. After the act was done, the pair fled. They mailed the knife back to Wisconsin to hide the evidence and board a bus to Nicholas's home. It was Gypsy's first time walking freely outside, without her wheelchair, without a wig, and without her mother. Days passed. Then, in a moment of panic, or perhaps guilt, Gypsy posted that now infamous message to her shared Facebook account. She wanted her mother's body to be found, but instead, the post triggered a full police investigation. When officers traced the message's IP address, it led them straight to Nicholas's house. There, they found Gypsy, healthy, standing, and safe. The girl who had once been seen as helpless was suddenly at the center of a murder case. And as the truth came out, the world struggled to make sense of it. Medical evaluations confirmed that Gypsy had no serious illnesses. Experts concluded that Dee Dee likely suffered from Munchausen syndrome by proxy, a psychological disorder where a caregiver fabricates or induces illness in another person to gain sympathy or control. In 2016, Gypsy accepted a plea deal for second-degree murder and was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Nicholas Godejohn, who carried out the act, was convicted of first-degree murder and was sentenced to life without parole. Gypsy served 8 of those 10 years, and in December of 2023, at the age of 32, she walked out of prison a free woman. Since her release, she's spoken publicly about her life, appearing in interviews, documentaries, and on social media. Some view her as a survivor who did what she had to do. Others see a more complicated figure, a young woman who crossed a line, but only after being pushed far beyond reason. In an interview, Gypsy once said, "I feel more free in prison than I ever did at home." And perhaps that's the most haunting part of all, that it took a prison cell for her to finally feel human. This case leaves us with more questions than answers. Could she have escaped another way? Should someone have stepped in sooner? And how many other stories like hers are still hidden behind closed doors?